So I'm going to quote two articles, if you will, one article and one Wikipedia entry. Both of them state pretty much the obvious, but there's a lot of bootlickers who demand that I give sources and studies, and so we're going to give you both of them. Alright, normative social influence, and there's a study for those of you who care. Current research, Schultz, and this is 1999. You can go to en.wikipedia. The other one is stanford.edu. But first, we'll do the Wikipedia. I'll just do the parts that I've highlighted in the comments on my video: gang stalking, Western philosophical imperialism, covert drugging, coercion, and mind control. Normative social influence is a type of social influence leading to conformity. It is defined as the influence of other people that lead us to conform in order to be liked and accepted by them. The power of normative social influence stems from the human identity as a social being, with a need for companionship and association. This fact often leads to people exhibiting public compliance, but not necessarily private acceptance of the group's social norms in order to be accepted by the group. Social norms refers to the unwritten rules that govern social behavior. These are customary standards for behavior that are widely shared by members of a culture. We're talking about cultural imperialism, Western culture, and the philosophical roots of Western culture. Solomon Asch conducted his classic conformity experiments in an attempt to discover if people would still conform when the right answer was obvious. Specifically, he asked participants in his experiment to judge the similarity of lines, an easy task by objective standards. Using confederates, he created the illusion that an entire group of participants believed something that was clearly false, i.e. that dissimilar lines were actually similar. When in this situation, participants conformed over a third of the time on trials where the confederates gave blatantly false answers. When asked to make the judgments in private, participants gave the right answer more than 98% of the time. Asch's results cannot be explained by informational social influence, because in this case, the task was easy and the answer obvious. Thus, participants were not necessarily looking to others in order to figure out what the right answer was, as informational social influence would predict. Instead, they were seeking acceptance and avoiding disapproval. Follow-up interviews with participants of the original Asch studies confirmed this fact. When asked about why they conformed, many participants provided reasons other than a need for accuracy. The other part I'll highlight, I'm going to skip over that study, I just want to make this quick. Minority influence. It is possible for a vocal minority to stem the normative influence of a larger majority. In the version of the Asch study where a dissenter was inserted into the group, see unanimity study. That's section. Fuck this shit. His presence as a minority member gave the participant the confidence to exert his independence to a greater extent. However, as soon as the dissenter waffled on his opinions and rejoined the majority, participant conformity increased. Thus, the minority needs to consistently stand by its beliefs in order to be truly effective. That's why they're afraid, because their studies point to the fact that someone like me, with consistency, can bring down their whole social normacy, social pressure, mind control project. In addition, there are other factors that increase the power of the minority. When the majority is forced to think about the beliefs and perspectives of the minority, when the majority and the minority are similar to one another, and when the minority exhibits some willingness to compromise and be flexible, although there is debate over the degree to which consistency and compromise should be balanced. I copied the whole article on the gang stalking, Western philosophical imperialism, covert drugging, coercion, and mind control video. Let me just get to that part and just wrap this up. Alright, the other article, it was first published November 30, 2001, but you'll find that it's quite relevant still. Okay, the part that I highlighted, all of it is relevant, but the part that I highlighted is the most relevant to my video series and to my point. The philosophical study of psychiatry discusses conceptual, ethical, metaphysical, social, and epistemological issues that arise in all these aspects of psychiatry. Central to this study is the nature of mental illness. The central philosophical debate over mental illness is not about its existence, but rather over how to define it and whether it can be given a scientific or objective definition, whether normative and subjective elements are essential to our concept of mental illness. One desideratum for a successful definition of mental illness is that it will settle debates over particular purported mental illnesses. The connection between philosophical issues in the study and treatment of mental illness and other areas of philosophy is in many cases obvious, as in the question of when and how people with mental disorders are responsible for their actions is connected with the insanity defense in law, and the more general debate over the justification of punishment. The philosophical investigation of the nature of mental illness is therefore relevant to many other areas of philosophy. While there is no sharp divide between the philosophical discussion of the nature of mental illness and the wider philosophical discussion of psychiatry, we can focus on four major issues that have preoccupied the philosophical literature. What is mental illness? How are mental illnesses different from physical illnesses? Classification of mental illness. When are people with mental illness responsible for symptomatic behavior? Now it goes on. All this stuff is relevant. I just want to really wrap it up. But as you can see, you know, when I told you the how they're going to try to play the expert card when no one's an expert. There's a philosophical debate over this. And who would you rather trust? A bunch of people with vested interests with big pharma, or someone who put his life on the line and goes against the grain and is that minority dissenter on your behalf? Who do you think is more trustworthy? You know, seeing how there's no experts in this, there's only people with superior philosophy. And who do you think has a superior philosophy? The guy that puts his life on the line to die for what he believes in and possibly even kill for what he believes in? Or a bunch of bootlicking shrinks and other mental health employees and benefactors and fucking big pharma and a bunch of multimillionaires, in some cases billionaire investors? Where does the moral compass lie philosophically in this argument between the haves and the would have had, but he put his life on the line for what is right instead? Whose philosophy do you think is superior? Who is coming at this from a more objective, righteous point of view? Who has a spiritual and ethical overview of psychiatry? And who is a complete bootlicker with blinders? A conformist, scumbag, who would have you say that the two lines are equal when they're not. Who wants you to be a coward, who keeps your dissent limited to the privacy of your home, and who urges you to stand up for the right thing. Where does the morality lie in this debate? As you can see, my argument is pretty straightforward. I'm going to end it there. Thank you.